What's this, Mum?
An electroencephalograph.
Yes, but what does it do?
So what is EEG? EEG stands for electroencephalography. This machine is able to detect very tiny signals emitted by neurons in our brain as they talk to each other and communicate with each other. And this machine detects those tiny signals, amplifies them, and then produces a graph that records the activity of the different frequency and fluctuations of those brain waves.
As the EEG became more prominent in medical and research settings in the late 1930s and early 1940s, it also started to infiltrate popular culture. The 1955 British film The Brain Machine is really interesting though because it makes the EEG, or the brain machine of the narrative, into the star. And not only that, but also seeks to try and meld science fact and science fiction together.
Now, there's no need to worry, Mr. Jarrett. You won't feel anything. Just relax.
So the EEG machine was used at the Burden Neurological Institute in the late 1950s. It was set up by Rosa Burden, who funded this institute to carry out new clinical research into neurological and psychiatric disorders.
In the film, Dr. Philippa Roberts is a psychiatrist, and she uses the EEG to do research in a number of contexts, but particularly within the film context, she uses it as a way to distinguish between aggressive behaviour caused by brain tumours and aggressive behaviour caused by congenital defects, potentially linked to things like criminal psychopathy.
Now, I'm going to put on a light, Mr. Jarrett. Don't let it worry you.
And whilst this might seem like a fantastical plot narrative, actually there is some historical grounds to this, because the EEG was used by people like Dennis Hill at the Maudsley to investigate if there was particular traits of the criminal psychopath within their brainwaves that could identify them.
What happened? You all right, Mum?
Yes, you just grabbed my wrist, that's all.
When we think of EEG today, we think of it as a non-invasive technique, but actually the work going on at the Burden Neurological Institute was much more invasive. This machine is used to produce the first EEG graph of a patient with epilepsy in the late 1950s. And actually that patient went on to have a lobotomy, a part of their left side of their brain removed. And if you look to the right of the machine, you can see a photostrobic lamp. So this was a lamp that was emitting 30 flashes of light per second. And that was used again to study how that light would maybe induce seizures into patients as well.
Come on, let's get on with it.
Be in such a hurry, Smith.
What's it all about, anyway?
You'll see. Just lie still.
The film's interested in the way that it seeks to ground its narrative in historical accuracy. It foregrounds the EEG as a female expertise, and this links to what is going on at the Burden Institute, where women's labour is absolutely central to EEG research at the time.
I think I can look after myself, so if you don't mind.
Yes, Mum.
And would you mind calling me doctor, not ma'am?
Certainly, Doctor.
As you can imagine, research in the 1940s and 1950s really centred on a lot of male researchers. But actually at the Burden Neurological Institute, many of the individuals working as technicians, as psychiatrists, as researchers were women. Individuals like Vivian Walter, whose work enabled the first brain tumours to be identified using EEG. It was a really important place and space for women carrying out really amazing work that tends to be written out of history, so it's really great to be able to bring their role and their significance back in with this research into neurological activity in the brain.